Hi, I'm Marilee. And one day before our family trip to Hawaii, the one I planned, booked, and paid for, my parents told me I wasn't invited. No fight, no explanation, just, "You're not coming." But it wasn't the rejection that broke me. It was the polite tone they used to cut me out, the silence I was expected to swallow. They used my credit card, my Amazon account, my time. And when I finally opened my eyes, I realized I was never part of the plan. I was just the help. So I did what they never expected. I canceled the entire resort. But now I wonder, was it really about the trip, or was it about finally canceling the version of me they created? It was one of those evenings where everything looked perfect from the outside. Soft fairy lights strung across the backyard, a buffet table lined with overpriced charcuterie, wine glasses clinking every few minutes to the rhythm of laughter. My parents' backyard in La Mesa had never looked better. It was the kind of setting you'd find in a home decor magazine. Candles flickering in mason jars, chairs arranged neatly in a semicircle, and a playlist filled with smooth jazz and acoustic covers of 80s hits humming beneath the chatter. And there I was, refilling everyone's wine like it was my job. No one asked. No one said thanks. I just did it. Like I always had. Isolde, my older sister, wore a linen jumpsuit that probably cost more than my entire week's groceries. She was floating around the guests, air-kissing cousins, cracking inside jokes with uncles who hadn't spoken to me since 2012. Meanwhile, I stayed near the cooler, pouring Sauvignon Blanc into glasses I wasn't invited to raise. There wasn't a seat for me at the main table. When I tried to slide onto one of the empty chairs, Uncle Matt appeared behind me, all smiles. "That's mine, sweetheart," he said gently, patting the back of it like it had sentimental value. I stepped back with a polite nod and moved to the folding chairs near the kids' table. You know how people say you can feel invisible in a crowd? That night, I was more than invisible. I was functional, like a coat rack or an extension cord. Useful, but easily forgotten. I told myself not to take it personally. This was just how things had always been. I was the helper, the organizer, the one who made sure things got done, but was never in the photo. "Next week is going to be amazing," Isolde chirped to a small cluster of relatives near the wine table. "It'll be so chill, just the grown-ups, right?" There was a ripple of laughter. Someone raised a glass and said, "About time." I blinked. Just the grown-ups? My heart did that thing it does before a car crash, stopped for a split second, then slammed into overdrive. I turned toward my dad, Arthur, who was standing nearby, holding a scotch like it was part of his identity. "Dad," I said casually, "what time are we leaving for Maui?" He didn't blink, didn't hesitate, just said, "You're not part of the trip, hun. We figured you'd be busy." That sentence didn't even sound real. My dad, who once called me from his driveway to bring him a screwdriver because he didn't want to get out of the car, had just uninvited me from a vacation I helped plan. I stood there, stunned, while someone laughed behind me. I think it was Aunt Lisa. Maybe it was my cousin Derek. I couldn't tell. My ears started ringing. I felt like someone had pressed mute on the entire backyard. "You okay?" someone asked, but I didn't turn around. I smiled, out of habit, not emotion, and walked toward the house to refill the ice bucket. That's what I did, right? I was useful. Later that night, I sat on the edge of my bed, still in my sandals, scrolling through texts and trying to rationalize what happened. Maybe they forgot. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. Maybe I'm overreacting. Then my phone buzzed. Celeste. My mother, queen of the soft insults wrapped in lavender. "Don't take things so hard, sweetheart. Sometimes knowing your place is the path to peace." I stared at the message, read it 3 times, screenshot it, saved it in a folder I had started months ago called Reasons I Left. I didn't reply. There wasn't anything left to say. An hour later, I checked the family group chat, the one we used to plan everything, from who brought dessert for Thanksgiving to choosing restaurant reservations. I wasn't in it anymore. The icon had changed to a group selfie from earlier that night. Everyone was there. Isolde, Mom, Dad, the cousins, the uncles. Everyone. Except me. The caption read, "The Real Crew." I sat in my car in the driveway for over an hour that night, headlights off, hands in my lap. The chirping of crickets and the hum of a neighbor's TV filtered through the still air. My thumb hovered over the photo. They planned this without me, and they're proud of it. The morning after the dinner, I woke up earlier than usual. My body hadn't rested, not really. It felt like my skin was still humming from the chill that had settled in the night before. The curtains were half drawn, letting in a soft sliver of daylight that touched the edge of my bed, like it was testing if I could handle it. I reached for my phone, half hoping it would give me some illusion of normalcy. No missed calls, no new messages, no one checking in, not even out of guilt. The group chat icon, usually nestled at the top of my notifications, was gone. My thumb hovered for a second before tapping into the thread. The name had changed. No more Hawaii planning. Now it read, Vacation Vibes 2024. Cute. And I wasn't in it. At first, I thought maybe I was looking at the wrong thread. Maybe there was a new one and they forgot to add me. Maybe. But when I scrolled up, I saw my last message. It was from 3 days ago. I'd sent a link to a shuttle service from the airport to the resort. Not a single reply, not even a thumbs up. I kept scrolling, down, then back up, until I hit a new photo, taken during the dinner. Everyone sitting around the long table, glasses raised mid-toast, Isolde laughing with her head tilted back like a magazine ad for contentment. And me? Not in the frame. Caption, The Real Crew. I stared at it until the words blurred, until the caption began to echo inside my skull. The Real Crew. So what does that make me? The bartender? The unpaid planner? The placeholder? I locked the phone and set it face down. My apartment was too quiet, but not in the peaceful way. It was the kind of quiet that came after being left out of something big. The kind that curled up in the corners and waited for you to notice how alone you really were. The fridge still held the potato salad I'd brought to the dinner. No one had touched it. I pulled the container out, opened the lid, and then closed it again. The smell hit me harder than I expected. I dropped it into the trash can, then followed it with the paper plates and napkins I'd over-prepared for. No ceremony, just a soft, heavy thud as it all landed at the bottom. I didn't realize how long I'd been standing in the kitchen until my phone buzzed again. I thought, maybe, just maybe, it was someone reaching out. Maybe a cousin who noticed. Maybe even my dad. It was Celeste. Her message was simple, too simple. Don't take things to heart, sweetheart. Sometimes knowing your place makes life easier. I didn't react right away. I just read it again. Then again. Each word felt carefully chosen, like she was trying to win a game of emotional chess without showing her hand. Know your place. I started to type a response, then erased it, typed again, stared at the blinking cursor. What was I supposed to say? Thanks for reminding me I'm the expendable one? Or maybe, you've trained me well, I almost didn't question it. Instead, I set the phone down and walked outside. The complex was quiet, save for the occasional hum of a distant lawnmower. A neighbor passed by with her dog and gave me a friendly wave. I smiled out of habit, not feeling much of anything. Did I really imagine all of it? That tightness in my chest, the sting behind my eyes. Were they overreactions? Had I misunderstood a harmless family decision? No. They made sure I'd question myself before I questioned them. That's the trick, isn't it? Make someone feel crazy just long enough for them to doubt what they know is true. I kept walking. Around the complex, past the pool gate, along the shaded path behind the mailboxes. My feet moved automatically, while my mind went back to every other time something like this had happened. The forgotten birthdays, the unreturned calls, the way they always managed to make me feel like I was demanding too much simply by existing. By the time I made it back to my apartment, the sun had crept higher. I kicked off my shoes by the door and walked into the kitchen. The bottle of wine Isolde gave me last Christmas was still on the counter. I hadn't opened it, not because I was saving it, but because every time I looked at it, I felt like I was holding proof that I mattered. I twisted off the cap and poured the entire bottle down the sink. It gurgled as it disappeared, taking whatever meaning it once held with it. And I said, out loud to no one, if knowing my place means silence, then maybe it's time to get loud in my own way. Saturday mornings used to mean pancakes or a trip to the farmer's market. They used to feel like possibility, but this one came with a silence that felt earned, not welcome. I stared at the calendar pinned to my fridge. A red heart sticker sat neatly on the date marked trip to Hawaii. My handwriting. My little reminder underneath, confirm resort by Tuesday. That was 3 months ago. I had planned this trip. Not just suggested it, organized it, mapped it out, booked it. And now, I wasn't even a footnote. I sat down with my coffee, holding the mug like it could anchor me to something stable. My mind wandered back to that Sunday brunch in March, when I had first brought it up. Everyone had been half present. Isolde scrolling on her phone, Arthur chewing his toast louder than necessary, Celeste already halfway through her second mimosa. I'd said it casually, carefully, like someone presenting a peace offering. Wouldn't it be amazing, I began, if we all did something together this year? Just us. A real family trip. Somewhere we can actually breathe. Celeste smiled like she was indulging a child. That's cute. Isolde nodded without looking up. Yeah, that could be fun. Just make sure it's not too remote. I need Wi-Fi. They moved on, but I didn't. That afternoon, I researched resorts, looked into group rates, found options with oceanfront views and allergy-friendly menus for Aunt Lisa. I sent out a detailed itinerary to the family email. Subject line, Hawaii draft thoughts? No one replied. Not even a thumbs up. But weeks later, they picked the exact dates I had suggested. Same location, same hotel. I was the one who laid the foundation. They just painted over my name. The mug in my hand had cooled. I set it down and picked up my phone. I didn't expect any new messages, but one blinked red. A voicemail from Arthur. I hit play. Hey kiddo, since you're not coming on the trip, can you swing by the house while we're away? Just keep an eye on things. Pick up the paper, feed the cat, maybe check the sprinklers. We've had issues before. He sounded so casual, like asking me to water plants was a logical next step after being told I wasn't part of the family. I replayed the message. Then again. No apology. No invitation. Just a request dressed up like a favor. Not coming? That wasn't my choice. Feed the cat? That wasn't a task. It was a label. I wasn't family anymore. I was facilities. I grabbed a notepad from the kitchen drawer and scribbled, paper, cat, lawn, silence. The pen hung in the air a second longer before I slammed it down. They didn't just exclude me. They assigned me a role in their absence, like a background extra tasked with keeping the house in order while the stars of the show flew off to paradise. I stood, opened my laptop, and pulled up the resort booking portal. The one they forgot was still tied to my account. Every reservation, every room, every detail had my initials on the confirmation page. Isolde's room, 2 queen beds with a pool view. Celeste and Arthur's suite, oceanfront with balcony. Derek and Tanya, next door to the spa, all under my name. They had erased me from the narrative, but left me holding the pen. It wasn't a mistake. It was arrogance. They thought they could take the bones of my effort and build their story over it, assuming I'd stay quiet. Stay small. I closed my eyes and breathed. You wanted me to be invisible? I whispered to no one. Let me show you what disappearing really looks like. The only sound in my apartment was the rhythmic hum of my ceiling fan, slicing through silence like a blade. It had been nearly 12 hours since the group photo, since the caption, since the realization that I wasn't just excluded, I was erased. I tried to work. I opened emails, organized invoices, typed out half-hearted replies to clients who expected me to be efficient and responsive regardless of my personal unraveling. My fingers hovered over the keyboard longer than they typed. Everything felt pointless in the face of that group chat's absence. Around noon, I walked out to check my mailbox. Not because I was expecting anything, just to do something that felt normal, something boring, something stable. A single envelope sat there, thick cardstock, pale ivory, the kind of thing you send for weddings or births or major family events. My name was scrawled in soft gold cursive. Back inside, I tore it open without much thought, and what greeted me was a printed thank you note. Elegant font, embossed crest at the top. With love and gratitude, Arthur and Celeste. It was their official thank you to the family for coming together for the anniversary dinner. Every name was listed below in a delicate column. Isolde, Derek, Tanya, Aunt Lisa, Uncle Matt, even Isolde's assistant, whom I hadn't seen in years. Mine wasn't there. They sent me the card but forgot to add my name. I stood in my kitchen, rereading it like I'd missed something. Like maybe I'd overlooked a second page. Like this was one of those find the hidden message games, and the joke was on me. But it wasn't a mistake. It was the perfect summary of what they'd turned me into, visible only when they needed something, erased when it came to acknowledgement. My hands didn't shake with rage. They trembled from the absurdity. They remembered to send the card, but not to include me in it. I placed the card on the counter and walked to the couch, dropping into it with the weight of 1,000 tiny insults. My eyes drifted to a frame on the side table. The last Christmas photo. They'd sent it to me in a group email that year, printed it without asking if I wanted one, then mailed it to me already framed. I wasn't in that picture either. I remembered the matching robes Celeste had ordered for the whole family on her Etsy spree last winter. Everyone got one. I got a candle with a tag that read, "You light up our lives." Generic, reusable, like they could have sent it to anyone. And then, there was the charity gala last week. A room full of people dressed in cocktail attire and surface-level philanthropy. Isolde had stood up during the family toast, glass raised, voice clear. We couldn't pull any of this off without our logistics queen, Marilee. Seriously, if we need things labeled or color-coded, Marilee's your girl. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. Because that's what you do when you're not invited to speak for yourself. You laugh, pretend it's flattering, pretend it's not diminishing. But the laugh had tasted metallic, like blood in the back of my throat. I hadn't asked to be their hero. I just wanted to be treated like I belonged. Sitting there, with that card and that memory, and all the silent evidence piling up, I grabbed my phone. I opened a new text to Isolde. Next time you want to diminish me, do it without an audience. I stared at it, then deleted it. No use throwing words into the void, not when I still had access to the one thing they seemed to have forgotten. I opened my laptop. The resort confirmation tab was still there from the night before. My name still at the top. All the rooms, linked to my account, my card, my permissions. I hovered over the edit reservation button. My breath was steady, not shaky, focused. I said it aloud, the way you test a truth before you act on it. They just signed the thank you card for a trip they're kicking me out of. That's rich. Then I clicked. Manage booking. By the time Sunday morning settled in, I'd already been up for hours. The sun wasn't even fully over the ridge yet, but the coffee was brewed and my laptop was open. I didn't sleep. Not from stress. Those days were behind me, but from clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. I opened my banking app, something I normally did out of routine, but today it felt like an audit. I scrolled through the recent transactions, line after line of resort charges, room deposits, excursions, transportation pre-bookings, all of it under my name, all of it paid with my card. No one had offered to reimburse me. No one had even asked if I was okay floating the entire trip. Not a word. No email. No quick, "Hey, thanks." In the group chat I was no longer in. It wasn't forgetfulness, it was confidence. Confidence that I would say nothing, do nothing, keep smiling while they used my resources like they used my silence, as a convenience. I pulled up my email inbox, filtered for resort. Confirmation emails lit up the screen. My name at the top of each one. Guest names listed: Isolde and her kids, Arthur and Celeste, Derek and Tanya. Every room accounted for, on my dime. A quote from a former client, a woman who'd divorced a man with 3 offshore accounts, and no shame, came to mind. Silence is not consent. It's strategy. That line stuck to me like a second skin. This wasn't just exclusion. This was theft, dressed in polite family dynamics. A new alert flashed at the top of my phone. Amazon. Your package has shipped. I hadn't ordered anything. I opened the app and checked my order history. A $287 cart of beachwear, floppy sun hats, matching swimsuits for Isolde's kids, sandals, a tote bag that read, Hawaii vibes only, all charged to my Prime account. I hadn't authorized it, hadn't even been asked. But there it was, just like the rest. Assumed, expected, taken. Weeks earlier, Isolde had messaged me, just using your Prime to save shipping time. Thanks! I hadn't responded then. I didn't think I needed to. Apparently, that was seen as approval. I sat back in my chair and opened the Notes app on my phone. A new list. Title: Things they take without asking. Time, energy, money, credit, identity. I renamed the file. Assets stolen from someone invisible. It felt good, writing it down. Not because it changed anything, but because it named it. And naming something has power. My printer buzzed to life a few minutes later. I drafted a mock invoice on my laptop, more for me than for them. 2. The Real Crew 4. Resort booking, emotional labor, years of silence total. Too much. I taped it to the side of my coffee maker. A daily reminder of what they owed and what I no longer felt obligated to give. Around noon, I cleaned up the kitchen, watered the plants, and sat back down with a glass of iced tea. The temperature outside was climbing, and my apartment felt still, like it was watching me. One more alert buzzed. Resort. Final itinerary confirmation. Sent to, Merrily, PrestonEmail.com. Still under my name, still assuming I was complicit. I stared at it and smiled. Not the kind of smile I gave at family dinners. Not the rehearsed tight-lipped grin. This one was real, satisfying. Let's make sure everyone gets exactly what they paid for. The light in my apartment had that muted glow that only came when the sun hadn't fully committed to the day. The kind of light that feels undecided, like it's waiting for you to make the first move. I made mine. Still in pajamas, I sat at the kitchen counter with my laptop and a quiet cup of coffee. No music, no distractions. I typed in the login for the resort's booking system, the one I'd set up months ago with a secure password only I knew. One click, and everything unfurled in front of me. My name sat bold at the top of the dashboard. Merrily Preston, reservation owner, and just beneath it, the list. Room by room. Isolde and her kids. 2 queens, partial ocean view. Arthur and Celeste. 1 king suite, balcony access. Derek and Tanya, poolside, with upgraded breakfast. All of it tied to my email, my billing, my authorization. Every single room. A few weeks ago, I might have felt pride looking at it. Might have thought, I pulled this off. But now I just saw leverage they forgot I had. Isolde's voice echoed in my head. I could still hear her tossing off the comment at brunch after I sent the booking confirmation. Thanks for handling all that boring admin, Mare. You're a lifesaver. Back then, I took it as appreciation. Now I saw it for what it was. Dismissal disguised as gratitude. They never wanted to do the work. But they sure as hell wanted the benefit. The ping of a new email broke the silence. Subject: Final confirmation request. Hana Bay Resort Body. Dear reservation holder, please confirm guest names and payment verification by end of day. There it was. One line stood out in bold, as if it had been waiting for me to notice it. All changes must be made by the reservation holder. That's me. I stared at the screen, then leaned back in my chair. If I closed my eyes, I could already hear the fallout. You're so dramatic. We were going to pay you back. It's not that deep. But it was. It was a canyon, a gorge between who they thought I was and what I was finally about to do. I opened the editor panel. Each reservation had a toggle, a little drop-down menu that allowed me to change guest names, mark payment as declined, or cancel outright. My hand didn't shake. I clicked Isolde's name, replaced it with unconfirmed room note. Payment authorization declined. Next, Derek and Tanya, same process. Then the kids' room. Finally, I stopped at Arthur and Celeste's suite. I stared at their names longer than the others. It wasn't hesitation, it was reflection. A final glance before turning the page. Click. Cancel reservation. No theatrics. No message sent. Just an automated update. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't even blink hard. Just execution. Just justice in clean lines and system prompts. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. New email from the resort. Reservation update complete. Guests removed. I smiled. Not out of revenge, but relief. They thought they'd written me out of the story. They forgot who wrote the prologue. You forgot the one detail, I said aloud, the words barely louder than the hum of my fridge. I built the trip. I didn't expect my phone to buzz again that afternoon. After the booking system confirmed my changes, I figured things would go quiet. But silence, apparently, wasn't their plan. Hey, random, do you still have that resort discount code? The message came from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in over a year. No hello, no context, just that. I didn't reply. But I didn't delete it either. A few minutes later, another message. Different cousin, same ask. Then a third, fourth, and fifth followed within the hour. All people I hadn't heard from in months suddenly remembered I existed, and not because they missed me. I opened my email. There it was, forwarded from someone deep in the family tree. A message thread started by Isolde. Of course it was her. Just ask Marilee directly. I don't want her thinking we're avoiding her. Performative concern, polished manipulation. She didn't want me to feel excluded. She just didn't want to get her hands dirty doing the excluding. Let the cousins do her bidding. Let them play the harmless middleman. Because that's what I was now. An inbox to be mined for codes, for perks, for convenience. I closed the email and reached for the remote, but another notification popped up. This one, different. Hey, it read. I probably shouldn't be sending this, but you deserve to see it. Vesper, my youngest cousin, 17, sharp, and far too aware for her age. Attached was a screenshot, a group chat. Not the family one, a private one, called Vibe Check Crew. I read the names first. Isolde, Celeste, Tanya, even Aunt Lisa. And then I read the messages. We need this trip to be peaceful. She always brings drama. No Marilee? No passive-aggressive guilt trip. She never knows when to let things go. Every vacation turns into her therapy hour. I stared at the screen long after the words stopped making sense. It wasn't anger I felt. It wasn't even shock. It was confirmation. They didn't forget me. They erased me, deliberately, strategically, with emoji-filled justifications and wine-soaked sarcasm. Vesper followed up. I didn't know what to do with this, but pretending I didn't see it felt wrong. I replied with one line. Thanks for sending it. You did the right thing. Then I set the phone down and stared out the window. For years, I had convinced myself I wasn't trying hard enough, that maybe if I volunteered more, baked the cookies, booked the tickets, handled the logistics, maybe then I'd belong. But now I knew. It wasn't about effort. It was about narrative, and I didn't fit the version they wanted to tell. I opened my email, clicked new message, and let the blank screen sit in front of me. I didn't type anything, just stared at the cursor blinking like it was daring me to respond. You didn't want me quiet, I thought. You wanted me gone. The room felt still, not empty, just still. I stood, walked over to the counter, and placed my phone face down. Then I opened my laptop again. This time, I wasn't looking at invoices or itineraries. I opened a blank spreadsheet. At the top, I typed, Impact Plan. Below it, I listed names, room numbers, flight times, all the pieces I had once managed for their convenience. And then, I rewrote them. Let's find out what they do, I whispered. When the invisible one rewrites the script, I woke to the soft clang of the percolator finishing its job. My apartment smelled like French roast and something sharper, certainty. There were no more decisions to weigh, no second-guessing, just follow through. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, took one sip, and sat down at my laptop. The resort dashboard loaded instantly. My login still worked. My name still bold at the top. I hadn't been removed. I hadn't been questioned. They really believed I'd stay quiet. Again, the dashboard layout hadn't changed. Each room still listed, every amenity noted. A few last-minute upgrades had been requested, likely by Isolde. I skimmed through them, not even irritated. Just resolved. I started with the kids' room. 2 double beds, water park package, meal add-ons. Clicked through. Replaced each name with unassigned. Added a note. Payment authorization declined by cardholder. Next was Derek and Tanya's. Pool view, spa credits. Gone in 2 clicks. Isolde's room took a little longer. I read through the additional comments she'd added. Please ensure hypoallergenic pillows. 1 child has asthma. The irony made me smile. Payment authorization declined. Last, I hovered over Arthur and Celeste's suite. Oceanfront. 2 king beds. Welcome basket with champagne and chocolate. She must have chosen that. My mom never passed up presentation. I clicked, cancel reservation, no theatrics, no spite, just completion. Within minutes, my phone began to vibrate. 1 notification, then another. Then they came in waves. From the resort, reservation updates complete. Guests removed from itinerary. Please contact your organizer for assistance. From family, did something happen? Hey, trying to check in and they can't find our names. Is this a glitch? Can you call the front desk? I'm getting stonewalled. Then Isolde, tell me you didn't do this. I turned my phone face down on the counter and took another sip of coffee. Still warm. I got dressed, slipped on my sandals, and grabbed my keys. The morning air was crisp and light, the sky a perfect faded blue. I walked to the beach trail near my apartment. Not out of habit, but ceremony. As I walked, I thought about silence. How it had always been a form of punishment in our family. How Celeste used to go days without speaking to me when I disappointed her. How Arthur would retreat behind his newspaper or phone like I didn't exist. Even as a child, I'd been trained to interpret that silence as something I caused. But not anymore. They never noticed my silence. Now it's all they hear. I returned home slowly, not rushed. Took my time crossing the parking lot, unlocking the front door. The apartment welcomed me like it always did. Predictable, mine. I sat at my desk, looked at the vision board above it. It had yellowed a little over the years. Goals pinned with too many afters. Start my own site, after this quarter. Submit to gallery, after mom's birthday trip. Rebuild savings, after vacation reimbursements. I grabbed my phone, opened my browser, and typed, flights to Hawaii, 1 way. Not to cancel. To rebook. Just me. 2 taps later, I found a seat. Direct, reasonable, departing tonight. I didn't hesitate. Confirm. The screen glowed back at me, booking complete. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and let the quiet settle again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was purposeful. This wasn't an echo of exclusion. It was my kind of silence, intentional, chosen, deafening to those who'd never listened. They'll be stranded in their own entitlement. I'll be at the spa. I made breakfast like it was any other morning. Toast, soft-boiled eggs, coffee brewed the long way because I had time. My apartment was still calm, not in a mournful way, but in the way that comes when you finally stop chasing noise. The first ping came as I sat down to eat. Then 3 more. Voicemails from Celeste, missed calls from Arthur, a string of messages piling up like junk mail. Most were vague. "Merrily, what's going on? Please call us. We don't understand." As if confusion was innocence. I didn't listen to any of them until one broke through. Arthur, his voice, low and rehearsed. "Merrily, this is beneath you. You know we love you. Let's not make this ugly. You've made your point." I stared at the phone like it had grown a second screen. Love? That word didn't mean what he thought it did. Love doesn't come with instructions or performance metrics. Love doesn't say, "You're not invited," then call you the next day because the plan backfired. I locked the screen and placed it face down beside my plate. I wasn't angry, not anymore. Then came Vesper. Her message popped up right after I finished my last sip of coffee. "Just so you know, they planned it this way. I heard Mom and Aunt Isolde say it weeks ago." Attached was a screenshot. It was a chat between Celeste and Isolde, date stamped from over a month ago. "She doesn't handle these trips well. Let's keep it simple this year." Keep it simple, by removing me, by preloading the excuses for when I inevitably found out. I replied, "Thank you for telling me. That's all I needed." And it was. It really was. I sat in that chair longer than I should have, letting the quiet stretch across my shoulders, not heavy, but grounding. Every trip I'd ever toned myself down for, every dinner I'd let a comment slide, every time I'd said, "It's fine," when it wasn't, it all came rushing forward, and for once, I didn't flinch. I wasn't the problem. "You don't get to pretend I overreacted," I whispered, "when you orchestrated my absence." They'd written the script and handed me the blame. That narrative was dead. A final message popped up on my screen. "Isolde again. Let's talk when you're ready." How convenient. I didn't respond. I wouldn't. That wasn't a door. I'd already locked it, bolted it, and walked away. Instead, I opened my boarding pass app. The flight was on time. Seat confirmed. The luggage had already been packed the night before. I rolled my suitcase from the closet to the front door. No hesitation, no second check. This time, I wasn't carrying anyone's expectations. Let them manage the fallout they created. I'm done carrying it for them. I sat at my desk, laptop open, cursor blinking at the email draft like it was daring me to hit send. I'd written only 5 words: real crew, real cost. That was it. No explanation, no warmth, just clarity. I copied the guest list from the resort's portal and pasted it below. Each name, each room, now flagged as removed due to unauthorized usage. Then I hit send, first to the resort, then to the family thread. Before I could even close the tab, I blocked every single contact on that thread. One by one. No satisfaction, no performance. Just clean up. By mid-afternoon, the consequences began rolling in. Reservation flagged, suspicious payment source, guests removed for security reasons. The resort's automated message went straight to Arthur and Isolde's inboxes. I didn't need to see their faces to know how they'd look. Jaw clenched, phone pressed too hard to their ears, voices raised at a front desk agent who had no idea they were talking to the king and queen of denial. Then came the second wave. Screenshots from Tanya, accidentally posted in a cousin group chat I hadn't been kicked out of. Images of panicked texts between Celeste and Isolde. I didn't authorize anything. Why would she cancel on her own family? Because I wasn't family, not to them. I was the labor, the placeholder, the silence they never bothered to hear. A text from Celeste arrived next. "You didn't need to go this far, Merrily. We could have talked." Isolde followed. "You've embarrassed us. Are you proud of that?" I opened a response. Typed 4 words. "You embarrassed yourselves first." Then deleted it. My piece didn't need punctuation. My clarity didn't need to be justified. Instead, I opened the folder beside my desk. Inside it was the mock invoice I'd printed earlier in the week. I slid it into a new manila folder and labeled it in thick marker. Evidence of self-worth. On a sticky note, I wrote 3 lines. No refunds, no returns, no regrets. I packed light. folded 3 outfits with intention. My old Nikon camera, the book I'd meant to read last summer, a swimsuit I hadn't worn since I bought it on clearance for a future vacation. That future was now. By 5:30, I ordered a car. When it arrived, I left the lights off in my apartment, locked the door without looking back, and settled into the back seat. The driver didn't talk, and I didn't offer small talk. There was a rhythm to the road I hadn't noticed in a while. At the airport, I moved through security like muscle memory. No urgency, no nerves. Just movement. No one called to stop me. No one texted to apologize. They were probably still spinning in circles, still asking each other how this could have happened, as if I hadn't been telegraphing my absence for years. The only difference this time, I acted on it. At the gate, I bought a bottle of water and sat near the window. Outside, a plane taxied past, the sky melting into that warm gold that only California sunsets can pull off. I smiled. Not because they were gone, because I was going without them. The final boarding call echoed through the terminal. I rose, handed over my boarding pass, and walked down the jet bridge with the lightest bag and the lightest chest I'd carried in years. Once seated, I powered off my phone. Not silence out of avoidance, silence out of design. They were loud when I was silent. Now they'll sit with the silence I designed. I woke to the sound of waves instead of pings. No vibrations from unanswered messages. No calendar alerts blinking red. Just the hush of surf meeting sand, distant and steady. I stretched under linen sheets that smelled like salt and lavender, letting myself lie still longer than usual. This was the first morning in years I hadn't started with someone else's expectation. No one was waiting for me to fix something. No one was asking if I had just one more second. This was mine. The sunlight slipped through the sheer curtains like it knew how to ask permission. I smiled faintly at my reflection in the mirror above the minibar. Hair undone, no makeup, just me. The version of me they never wanted at the table. But this one? She earned this view. After I ordered a coffee to the room, I opened my suitcase to pull out a scarf and instead found a folded piece of paper tucked between the pages of an old notebook. I recognized the handwriting instantly. Aunt Rosa. She passed 2 years ago. The last person in my family who ever made me feel seen without requiring a performance. She had written it in ink that had begun to fade, but her words hit like a fresh bruise. You shine in ways they'll never understand. They don't have to. Don't dim because they squint. I pressed the letter to my chest. Not from sadness. This wasn't mourning. It was gratitude. A confirmation from someone who never used love as a weapon. Outside, the waves rolled in their rhythm, and for the first time, I felt like I was rolling with them, not against them. My phone buzzed once. I glanced at it without reaching. From Celeste. Hope you're okay. A pause. Then another. Would love to talk after this cools down. I opened the messages, read both once, then deleted them. There are doors that close softly, and then there are doors that don't need to be knocked on again. This was one of them. I got dressed slowly. White linen, loose sandals, hair pinned back with the same clip I used in college, when I still believed time and effort could make people love you back properly. In the lobby cafe, I ordered an iced green tea and sat near the window overlooking the beach. My camera rested on the table beside me. Not for show, for peace. I'd already taken 6 photos at sunrise, crashing waves, an old man fishing alone on the rocks, a child digging a crooked moat. I opened my laptop and uploaded the photos to a new blog I'd built on the flight. Simple layout, clean font, nothing fancy, just mine. I titled it, Unwritten Histories. The first post was a photo of the dawn breaking over the water. Below it, I added a quote from Aunt Rosa's letter. Some stories don't need sequels, just clean endings. And that's what this was. Not revenge, not payback. Just closure I gave myself. Another buzz. Isolde this time. You around? I didn't open it. Instead, I opened the balcony doors and let the breeze roll in like an old friend who didn't need to talk. A soft knock came at the room's main door. Room service. I walked over, opened it, and smiled. This is the only door I plan to answer today. The cafe smelled like fresh papaya and roasted espresso beans, a combination I never would have thought worked until this morning. The space was open air, woven with hanging orchids and driftwood decor, tucked into the edge of a beachfront art gallery I had stumbled upon after a quiet breakfast. No one had sent me the address. No one had planned this moment for me. And still, here I was. My camera, slung over one shoulder, clicked quietly as I adjusted the angle of the black lava rock shoreline I'd captured earlier. The photo, now edited and uploaded, shimmered on the gallery's wall monitor. A staff member had chosen it as part of their weekend digital feature. Underneath the image, I'd added a caption that had been writing itself in my head since I landed. Not all who wander are lost. Some of us finally stopped waiting for a ride. I didn't mean it to be clever. It was just true. When I posted the image to my feed, geotagged Maui, no filters, no explanation, I expected maybe a handful of likes. What I got was an avalanche. People I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me. Strangers commented. It wasn't the photo, it was the energy. Solo butthole, chatter real crew was me. That second one made me laugh a little. Because it wasn't even bitter. It was light, easy. It was mine. I didn't check my messages for a few hours. I let the notifications stack up, let the reactions do whatever they were going to do. I sipped my drink, walked the gallery, and took a deep breath in front of an abstract sculpture made from recycled flip-flops and coral. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me. I opened my inbox. Celeste had written, "We saw your post. This hurts." 3 words in, and I was already tired. But I read the rest. I don't know what to say, except that it's sad it had to come to this. We never meant to hurt you. I clicked reply and typed, "It was never about hurting you. It was about finally protecting me." I didn't add anything else. No greeting, no sign-off. Just a boundary, a clear one. Later that afternoon, the cafe owner approached me. She introduced herself, Kiana, and said, "You've got an eye for what's quiet but loud. I like that." She invited me to feature a miniseries the following week. The theme, exits are also entrances. I knew instantly what to call it. Ghosted by blood, seen by light. I would stay a little longer. Not for escape, but for creation. Back in my room, I sat on the balcony and watched the tide roll in. The horizon felt different now. Not like a boundary, but a suggestion. I didn't feel like calling home. I didn't even feel like wondering if anyone had tried again. It didn't matter. Not because I didn't care. Because I'd stopped negotiating my worth with people who only recognized it when it was convenient. They planned the trip to escape chaos, I said aloud, watching a group of tourists pose for selfies near the pool. But the only chaos was pretending I didn't exist. I packed that night slowly. No rush. I folded each item with care. My boarding pass already downloaded. I had a window seat, early flight. As I approached the gate the next morning, a couple ahead of me argued over their luggage weight. A baby cried somewhere behind me. It was all just background noise. And then it was my turn. I handed over my pass, walked down the jet bridge, and settled into my seat. The plane was half full. The flight attendant smiled without asking where I was going or who I was meeting. I buckled in, glanced out the window, and whispered just loud enough for myself. They thought I canceled a resort. I canceled their version of me, and finally, I landed where I belong.